Welcome to Crafting Your Workspace. My name is Baird. I'll be moderating this. So being an artist can require physical space to do your art. So how do you find or create your space? All right, and I'm going to just pick on at the very end. Viga, would you like to start?
Okay, how I craft my space. First, I take my office, then I throw a lot of crap around it. And then there's a bunch of like water bottles in the corner, and then there's lots of reference books because you just expired. And then I forget about it for 6 months, but I'm still working in it. But to be honest, energy is not really great when you're trying to be creative every day. It's very stressful. So basically, and I'm a digital artist, so I still do some traditional, so I don't need a lot of room. But even with digital, you have to craft your workspace even on your computer. And really, it's just building an area to get you in the mindset is my usual goal when it comes to it. And then aesthetics is the second goal, because right now I'm redoing everything because I want everything to look cute and I have new furniture to paint. Yay. So I'm coming from that sort of area, mostly the digital artist that also has crazy ADHD and needs to organize so she can do the art better and be in a great mindset.
Hi, I am Brontide. You can hear me okay? Author. Also have been known to do oil paints, acrylics, watercolor, pencil drawing, did webcomics for years. Now my current thing is animation, and I have a number of physical and cognitive disabilities. I proposed this panel, I think. One of the disabilities is a memory disability. Because I have found it really important to honor my personal, physical, and mental needs in designing my workspace, which has to be a writing space, an art space, and also where I practice teletherapy because that's my actual job. So I have been fascinated by how creating these spaces has impacted my work and my health.
Hi, I'm Ashley. Whisperer, I'm sorry. I'm a physical therapist by trade and an artist by everything else. So I have a workspace studio in my room for weaving, dyeing, spinning yarn, sewing, cosplay. I just moved a bunny rabbit into it through the fiber. My husband's not terribly amused by that, but it was Mother's Day and he couldn't say a whole lot. And typically I spread out all over the house. I try not to because I have kids. I had a kid, and they spread out all over the house, and there's conflicting interests there and safety there. So I like to collect antique armoires to put all my stuff in every room of the house, and that's a problem because then you have a craft room that is your house. But I do technically have a designated studio where my looms live, and I spin looms.
Multiple looms.
Plural. Spinning wheels. Plural. I would like them to be spaced out more so that I can sit in this room and spin while my kid does that, or be in the basement and spin in that room because I have projects in different. I have ADHD. I have too many projects, and but I also have puppies, and they chew wood, and I can't have that. So I have everything shoved into my studio right now, and you can't walk through it because CONvergence is this week, and I won't start decluttering it until next week. Thankfully, I live here for this week, so I don't have to look at it.
Otherwise, it seems like you're living like cottagecore dreams. Just listening to you describe it is like, oh God, I feel so chill.
Yeah, I've decided in my 30s that I will just do that. I made jam last week.
Oh, you are the cottagecore.
They should chat.
I also gave a little one of it to the hotel lady that checked me in on Wednesday because she gave me a cool side room when I asked. And I needed that for customers.
Jam bribery.
Jam bribery. My studio, I try to organize by thing because there's too much going on in one room and you need stations. And I'm here today because I usually do have a panel on like the PT side of ergonomics, making your workspace, but there was already one in the system, and I've already am doing too much, and I thought that this would be a nicer way to do that without me having to talk at you with a slideshow.
Excellent. And my name is Dana Baird, and I've been a costumer since 1986, so I'm old. And if you see me fanning, it's because I'm having hot flashes, so don't mind me. I was an studio art major, so my primary medium these days is oil paint as well. And I've been mainly, for a while I was a writer, so my spaces have evolved based on what muse has been spinning me by the tail at the time. So right now I'm very much set up for costuming, and I'm in actually 3 separate areas of my house. And I don't necessarily care for that, but each space has its own use. So I cut down in my basement because that's the only place we could fit the massive cutting table that my husband built for me. And then I have, on the first level, we have a back studio that was the only room that had a ceiling tall enough for my easel. And all of our crafting stuff is in there. And then upstairs in the 1.5 story, that half story is where all my sewing is. And his computer, he has a little corner for his computer and then a little electronics corner in the basement. And that's what
I've got about 10% of that upper room.
Yeah, and I've spread out for the rest of it.
Occasionally I come up to find my computer with a bunch of fabric on top of it.
Yes. His computer desk makes a really excellent shelf for fabric.
I'm detecting themes.
And they're spreading out. So yeah, so that's in the end, I go. You've got to work with whatever space you can get, right? And at least I feel like I'm getting my steps in this way. So it kind of works out all right. So we'll start with we just talked a little bit about how our workspace is set up. So we're talking about spreading out. We're talking about armoires. So organization and storage. Let's kind of start with that. And then we'll work our way into how to get into the ergonomic setup. So
I do have a slide.
all right, let's see.
Okay, so my whole thing is I like having my rooms have a purpose. And when you have a room that has a purpose, whenever you're in that room, you kind of get in the mood for that purpose. So my office is pretty much the art everything room, or also art storage, or also where I hang. Well, we hang art everywhere, but I have some of my favorites in that room. And when it comes to organization, I have a little art desk that I got from Amazon, like a cheapo thingy, but it works. You don't have to go too heavy when it comes to organization materials. It came with a little desk for things. I also have a hand-me-down drawer that I keep a lot of other hand-me-down art supplies. You'd be surprised what you can get for free from other artists, and you'd be surprised what organization things you can get for free. Also, just IKEA desks. I got cubes. I got those little things, square things you throw things and just put them in a cube. So that way it's, and since I know what's in those things, it's really easy if I have to clean up because someone's visiting. And then I have a closet that is just a complete mess of just a bunch of stuff just on shelves in a closet that my husband built for me. And of course, art book section. So it's really basic. But when it comes to the actual system, I'm in the Marie Kondo cult.
So bad.
Yes, and that helped me out get started, although then I had to actually alter what I've learned from that for yourself. And that's actually hard. So write down what you envision, everything, aesthetics, draw out, because we're artists, draw out how you want your organization to look. Because when you have kind of a visual map, that helped a lot. And when I was just trying to go from my head, I kind of ended up starting over and over because I got kind of
Very smart.
I have a it sounds like a completely different method to the other panelists because I have a different brain. And so for me, the object is to only ever get things for the project I'm doing right now, and then anything that's left over has to leave the house immediately.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to love that.
So the thing is, some people work really well with that. Some people don't. Hi, honey. I just don't go in her office craft space. I just don't go in there because if I have a lot of stuff, if I can't see it, it ceases to exist. And if I can see it, it's stressing me out. So while my office is not minimalist, it doesn't have a lot of supplies except for what I'm working on presently. If I absolutely have to keep something for a longer period, it has to go in a box in the basement where I do not have to look at it with a label on it so that I can't see inside. But like, so for me, it's really about, I only want to have the stuff for what I'm doing because my book alone, this is just words. It's just words. And it has taken over 3 walls of my office with cork boards because I have to organize what's in my brain externally and visually.
I was gonna say, you're a visual, you had to plot visually.
Because I have sequencing and memory problems. So if I need to have a book, which is a sequential story, I need to be able to take that out of my brain and put it where I can see it. But luckily my brain does not interpret a whole bunch of note cards and photographs of locations and things as clutter that needs addressing. So that can stay on the wall, but if I have like you do great with clear boxes of supplies and they make me nuts. Which is why we just have separate workplace spaces and it's fantastic. So that's my thing is just, I don't call it minimalism because like my office is still very full of books and plants. So 43 plants, but it's
Yeah.
but they turn into a lovely green blur when I don't have my glasses on, so it's fine.
Bring your own jungle, right?
Yeah. The winter is long. I need green things.
Amen to that. Very important.
All right, the question was about
How do you
organization.
organize? What kind of things do you?
So I, after listening to that, realized that I try to build a calm space. That is the goal, not always reached. But sometimes the goal for that is, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have all of my pretty hand-spun yarns on the wall where I can see them and pet them. And then if I need something purple, I go, there it is. And then aesthetically it's nice. In reality, it's, can I walk through my craft room? And do I have what I need for this week's crafting session nearby? So I'm the IKEA's cube person. And it's to the point where I had to get a label thermal printer to print out pictures of the characters and then put them on the box, print off the picture, put it on the box so I can look at it and say, that's the one I'm working on today, pull it out, throw it on the table.
Love that. That's super
Otherwise
smart.
it's like,
And with kids too, I was gonna ask that question about you. It's like you gotta store things differently because of kids.
she likes to play, so thankfully my house is, you walk in the front door and there's a lot of open, I shouldn't say thankfully because it's annoying as heck, I want French doors, open space. You walk in and there's a craft room and then there's the baby's room. So I can be in the craft room, I'm like, you go to your playroom, take your toys out of my craft room, into the playroom, into the playroom. And then I have to, at times, just bring her into my room and give her a loom.
How
You
old?
sit here, she is turning 5 next month. You sit here, I will do this. We cannot do the same thing. I'm working on this, you're working on that. There's Disney on the TV. You do that.
Your 4-year-old will sit at a loom? Mine won't even sit.
She thinks it's cool because it's all I want to do. Right?
So that's the age where everything is
They think I'm cool. It's not going to last very long, so I'm going to enjoy it while I can. She thinks con's cool too, so I'm going to enjoy that while I can. Organization. So I have IKEA pegboards on 2 of my walls in my craft room. The 3rd wall is all furniture, hanging space, things on top of the furniture old armoires have a very flat top, and you can put all kinds of spinning wheels on top of those, plural. And then you can go and pick up the one that you want and put it on the floor, and use it and put it back, or put your warping here back up top, or your other rooms back up top. And one bookshelf, because if I have to go down to the library, it sounds cool, down to the library. It's not cool, it's my sister's space. She's dealing with it, that's where the books are. But I can keep my crafting books in my crafting room, so I can grab them quickly. What else do I do? I try not to spread out all over the house anymore because of the dogs and the kid. But right now there's an ironing board in my dining room, and the back of the couch sofa is covered in art show shenanigans.
So you have to be careful with the iron. My friend, the question with kids made me think about a friend of mine who I'm teaching her how to sew. And one of the things she learned is you don't leave your iron out.
Oh.
She has little boys, 5 and 3. And she had her iron, it wasn't plugged in, but it was on top of the ironing board. And the older boy took that iron, he plugged that bad boy in, and he tattooed their dining room floor.
Oh.
Luckily, Dad smelled the burn. He's like, "What are you doing?" So now the iron lives in the cupboard where it can't be
Boys yet, so
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind for later.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in my brain for when I have kids.
I will say that we converted the, second kid, whenever that happens, bedroom, which it was fabric storage and cosplay in the closet, storage and storage and storage. We're trying to turn it into a 3D printing room, and right now it's a 3D printer on a shelf, and all of my stuff everywhere.
I will add one other thing that we did actually before we moved, which was we created a spreadsheet because all the stuff went in boxes.
Yes.
But then we created a spreadsheet where it's like, the cookie tin box is the adhesives box. This tin is for that stuff. And this is when we had to share a workspace. We had a Google Doc spreadsheet that was, here's where all the things are, which was not only for finding things, but then like afterwards I'm standing here and I'm like, oh, I have a cookie tin box full of adhesives.
That's good to know.
Where does this go? And then that was in the spreadsheet to put it back.
I just want to also add, when I was talking about mapping out your plan, I drew a picture while y'all were talking. I was still listening. ADHD, you could do that somehow. But this is what I basically drew out when I was rearranging my office because it just didn't feel right. You get it? You gotta have the vibes. But also, I didn't encourage something that I think everyone should encourage. It's your workspace, but it can also be visually your space, your art space. If you're making art in it, put in art that you enjoy. Make it a space that just makes the brain go, burr, 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 burr.
Yep.
Definitely.
I'm sure that sentence made sense.
It did. Make a Pinterest board.
Yeah, bulletin board, posters, art that you bought from other people, your own art, a mirror because you look good.
I agree. I see a couple of hands. So I'm going to start with in front in their circuit, and then we'll go to you at next.
So I'm a ceramicist, and I also do jewelry. I have 2 primary workspaces, inside and outside.
So you kind of need to have some outside space.
Yeah. But my ceramic studio lives in the basement, and I have to have a mirror since I'm facing a wall. I have to have a mirror so I can see stuff behind me.
Oh,
Yep.
sure.
So I can see stuff behind me because that's where the light is, and that's where I gotta be where the light is. And I also have to have a different it's not a very big space, it's like less than the size, maybe half the size of your stage. And then I have to have, within that little thing, I have to have a place where I process my clay. And then I have to have a table that has the tools that I'm using. And then it's my wheel, and then over here I have a little shelf where I can put finished pieces. So there's not a lot of up and down and up and down, because every time you stand up, the piece in your hands, it's wet clay.
And where you said it.
You're
So did
in
everybody
danger.
hear? Was everybody able to hear most of that? Okay. So,
I was actually doing that.
okay, good. Good deal. And then you had a question or comment over
No,
here.
I just said for stuff that inspires you to work spot. So in the art show today, there was said perfect is the enemy of good.
Yes.
And I
yes.
was like, I bought it immediately. I'm like, I have to put this up at home in my workspace.
I cannot tell you how many times I say, perfect is the enemy of good.
Oh yeah, perfectionism can be a big problem in the creative fields.
When I had a therapist office that people actually came to, I had a cross stitch of a quote from Jake the dog, which said, "Sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something." And I liked
That's perfect. Yes.
One thing to do for laying out your space would be to get some graph paper and measure all your equipment and then lay it out, and then you can move it around a lot easier, little pieces of paper, than trying to move big pieces of furniture around to get the right flow.
You can also do that digitally.
Art
Yeah, I was
program.
about to mention, you could do that digitally, like on your
Yes.
iPad. Or
Put the grid on your art program,
Yep.
make a layer with a
more than
couch.
likely, you could probably find images of everything out
Yeah.
there. And like I said, just graph paper and measure, the sewing table is X by X.
Yeah.
Oh, if we put it in this spot here, it's,
Make
No,
make
quote,
yourself a
unquote, it
little
will
post-it
throw the
storage
feng shui
table.
off.
It's a
work
little bit
table.
more technical than this.
But I will say, you gotta really think about how you are comfortable. Because like, yes, the desk might fit there, but are you gonna be comfortable if your back is to the door?
Yes.
Are you gonna be comfortable where the lighting is? Are you gonna be comfortable sitting in that spot? So really thinking not just about where it fits, but actually like, I like to face the bulletin board, right? So I need to orient myself towards that, or I need to face.
Easily make changes and go,
Yeah.
yes, that works. Oh God,
But you
that
gotta-
flow is all wrong.
Visualize how you'd actually be in the space with each of those, not just be like, oh, that fits.
And be mindful of windows.
The elbows.
Exactly, yes. We have in the back, Sonia.
Yeah, like being comfortable, ergonomics.
Yes.
One of my favorite things I have is when I moved out of my mother-in-law, she gave me these 2 white tables that I can just get crap on. They can get paint, they can get a little scratch. And they're adjustable, so that I can make them really low and I can sit at them, or I can make it kind of mid-height with a little stool, or I can make it standing. And they've just been a lifesaver because depending on what you're doing, I sew, so it's moving back and forth between projects. Like it can save your back, or just help you move around the space, and like those little things make a big difference.
Do you have a comment?
Adjustable height tables.
Oh,
A little picnic.
I live in an art space building, which is a live workspace. So it's like where I live, but it's also where I work, and it's 2-bedroom. But I find that I have so many mediums that I am, like a lot of you have, things everywhere in every bit of the space. But when you're talking about being comfortable and having it be your vibe, I totally get that because I've got like a 40s theme thing going on. And so all my art supplies, I do the plastic boxes that are clear with the labels on them, but only if they're in a closet and all lined up. Everything that's all out in the space has to be like vintage, like bread boxes and things, so that they look visually appealing on the shelf, but they have sequins and they have this and they have like all my mixed media stuff inside them, so I don't have to look at that. When you come into my space for like Art World or something, you're looking at it and people are like, is this an antique store or is this where you because it's just like, I like to make it look like a living space and not a workspace. But the cool thing about like having different things that you need to do with like furniture that needs to be moved around in other places is lately we've been putting casters on everything.
Oh,
Because I have lots and lots of massively large pieces of furniture with all that stuff in there with all the supplies. It's super heavy, but if you have casters on it that lock, you can move things wherever you need them to go.
Oh, good
I will
idea.
just say that if your house is really lumpy, like if you have a 140-year-old hand-dug lime basement, the casters can be slightly more problematic.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they're great.
I had that happen and I had to put a floor in, like plywood sub-floor, and then put tile flooring over the top of it, and that worked really well. But like all of my back stuff, because I have thousands of items at any given time, are all in suitcases on the bottoms of things, so like when you go in, it just looks like an antique store.
Nice. I like that. All right, so we have several hands coming up, so I'm going to start with the first one I saw up here, and then back there, and then to you, and then to the blue card in the second back. All right.
Take this lead that mentions lighting.
Mhm.
How do you
Lighting.
get the lighting so that it's not in your face, but it's not causing shadows when you're trying to work on things? What are your strategies for lighting?
Strategies for lighting.
Sure. Having multiple light sources and types is really important because sometimes you need really bright direct light, and sometimes you need very close light, and sometimes you need natural light, and sometimes you don't want any of that. And having the option to change based on what you need in that moment is very important. I have a room with bay windows. I can have just bay windows. I have really terribly bright lights in my ceiling. I can choose whether or not to turn them on and off. I have a light on my sewing machine that's giving me very direct light. I can bring a lamp. I have a floor lamp that I can put directly over my loom if I want to or not. If I want light here, but not light in the entire room, giving me this bright. I painted my entire studio room pitch black. It's beautiful. Everything that I put on the walls is vibrant. If I put a tapestry on my wall, you see every color in that because the black will bring that forward without doubling the colors. The wood in my furniture pieces are richer because they're contrasted from the black paint. If I want all the lights off, I get this nice moody room. I just want to sit and think about what I'm going to do next. If I want all the lights on, they're not so over bright that it's bouncing off on my walls. I have also adapted when I need to, one of those stupid neck ones that you charge with the movable thing.
That's supposed to be for reading in bed.
It is.
Yeah,
I use
I
it
know.
for cross stitch and crochet.
That's so
and quilting.
smart.
And there's light right here, where my hands are. And I can be like, okay, I need it here.
Honey, I want one.
It's stupid, it's ugly, I don't care. I can see, I don't have to strain my eyes. I don't have to hunch into my work because
Some of my
the
friends
light
use
is
those.
here
Yeah.
from my neck space into what I'm working on.
I was just doing embroidery before CONvergence, and I'm like, oh, I'm at that age. I need to fix my lighting situation if I'm gonna keep doing
Yeah.
this. Like,
I brought it, I haven't pulled it out yet, but it is in my bag because I brought my drop spindle, I got some knitting. I might need it.
We get
There you go, you never do.
Yes, I have a present for you.
And Bea, did you have a comment?
About lighting?
Yeah.
So basically, I'm a digital artist, so the screen is light, but based on your placement of where you're gonna put your work desk, I have my work desk as, man, I love being in this nice corner over here, and then it would be 6 o'clock, and then, blinded by the light! So then I had to rearrange the whole room. But also when it comes to lighting in more of a workspace area, now, time for digital artist time, you also have to sometimes change the settings on your screens and monitors. I use 3 of them, and started getting kind of irritating at a certain point because, surprise, I just found out I needed glasses. Yay. I forgot to bring them to wear them. So yeah, that's kind of my whole thing with lighting. But when I do anything traditional, or if I'm doing stuff for YouTube, because I'm also an art YouTuber, then that's also a whole nother subject in terms of lighting a room with ring lights and bounce lights and soft boxes.
Yeah. Are we done?
I guess so.
I was just gonna say that I hate overhead light for most things. So just having an absolute shit ton of lamps so that I can put on, and there are different temperatures. So I have some that have cooler light and some that have warmer light, and I have them so I will just put on whichever lights I need for a given task so that I can delay having to put on the overhead light for as long as I possibly can. I also, though, am lucky to have I have windows on 3 sides of my office, so that helps a lot.
So our rebel in the back. Very proud.
Something that I kind of had a problem with for a while, and I think sometimes people forget about it, nothing you do is set in stone. If you set up your workspace and you think you've got it great, but you're running into problems, nobody says that you can't change something to make it work. I'm going to be honest, at one point in time, I ended up completely taking everything out of the room, putting in whole new shelves, a bunch of coffee boxes I stole from work because they fit on the shelves beautifully, and just redid the whole thing, and it works so much better. But I was trying to make it work for too long.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's one of those you have to look at it and go, okay, I need to change something, and it's okay.
Yeah. Never be afraid to move things around if you need to. Yeah.
I do it yearly.
There you go.
I don't like having things set the same way and I get tired of it. But also, depending on where I am in my life and what projects I'm working on, my needs might change. Sometimes I need a table in the middle of my workspace because of what I'm working on for those 6 months. Sometimes I need everything moved to the wall so I can have a room with everything around it for those 6 months. Sometimes I don't want to be in there at all because I need to watch my kid play outside and I'm like, okay, now I need to go to bed. So I can sit outside and watch her ride bikes. Life is variable, and there's nothing wrong with being like this isn't working for me this year.
Yeah, heck, I'm
I
like,
really like that phrase.
heck, I'm thinking about just tossing, not tossing a bunch of stuff, or more like putting it on the deck so I can paint it while the weather's nice.
Sure.
Because right now I'm just like, I'm sick of this color. And I got this as a hand-me-down, it's useful, but I hate the look of it. Let's get the paint.
Customize things.
Yes.
Customize. They do not make cork boards the size that I needed a cork board, so we made a 9-foot cork board.
I'm jealous of your cork board.
Honestly, you should be. It's amazing. I'll tell you about how to make it if you want later.
Even
Yes, I wanted to know what you guys have done. It sounds like most of you have your own houses, so you've got a lot more room. What have you done back when you were in, for instance, a 400 square foot apartment that is both living space and what little workspace you have? How do you do that? How do you keep the modularity, or how do you just go,
That is how I wound up developing my, if I'm not using it right now, it has to go away. Because I didn't used to live in a house this size, so it was just sort of like I will get things for a specific project and then have to tell myself, it is okay to let this thing go. It is all right if I don't have an immediate use for it, for this to leave. Because I never found another, but that's for me, I have very low tolerance for visual clutter. So that's when I got into the habit of only the stuff for this project can stay. But I don't need looms, which presumably you do not want to have to like get rid of a loom every time you finish a project. That doesn't really work. But for me, that was
done.
Okay.
I'll take the loom. I'm pretty portable because back when I was in art school, I could always work at arts, like in the studio for those type of stuff. But then at home, all I had was my tablet and my laptop and a desk that got at IKEA for nothing because it was broken. Yes, that college, you're living with a bunch of roommates in a small place type of life. I did have a couple bins for some traditional supplies, but most of my classes were all digital as well, except a few studio classes where I could just keep that at school. So I kind of had the benefit of being in art school and thus having an extra storage space in a locker at school for weirder projects.
Also, double-use furniture.
Oh yes.
Ottomans that hold stuff. Wonderful, wonderful.
We have a
Modular.
table that opens.
Yes, modular furniture. Yeah, we were in a small one-bedroom apartment, and my sewing machine was in a tiny little closet corner. I had a tiny little desk with a sewing machine, and then all of our storage next to it. And then we had a workspace with a dining room table. So dining room tables are wide, so you put that against the wall, and you can put a row of bins underneath it, and then you can work and you still have a little bit of leg room. And actually, depending on how you arrange them, you can like put your feet up on them when you're working. So yeah, there was not a corner of that apartment that didn't have some kind of a bin tucked in somewhere.
Every desk had
Yeah.
something underneath it.
Everything. We used every last inch of space we could. We stacked a lot of stuff. So stackable things with drawers are great when you have very little. It's like the stackable laundry units. Same type of concept where you just try to work up if you can. I mean, it's not, but that doesn't work for everybody because I'm tall. I can reach the upper stuff,
With or
So
without
yeah,
stills.
yeah, exactly. So you kind of have to figure out which way you can work to, maximize your space.
Artists will grow into the exact amount of space that they have. And you will only grow to that size unless you have somewhere else to go to grow. And when you start, young at the dining room table, you have to move your stuff off the table for dinner time because you share that space. And you must be respectful of the people you live with. And later, when you can transport yourself to other places, you find those spaces. It might be the library where you can spread out and it's free and you can get a room and bring your project with you and spread out. That's the thing. It might be finding the guild of the same sort of thing where you can rent the tools that you do not have access to otherwise.
There's some organizations out there.
Yes, Twin Cities Makerspace.
Also the
Yeah.
Geek Partnership Society.
They exist. You might not be able to get the tools, but you can use the tools in those spaces. You can find teachers in those spaces. I was talking to a person at the leather store, and he lived in an apartment that legit had a workroom in the apartment building, and that's where he did all of his leather working, down in the basement where he could hammer, because there's no way he could do that in his apartment with neighbors. So they had a space for it in the basement. That was a priority for him, working in a leather shop. He did leather working outside. All those bins, all of the you find places to put more bins and more shelving, and that doesn't stop even when you upgrade size. It doesn't, because then you can get the upgraded piece of machinery, the upgraded this, the upgraded that. You keep upgrading until the shelving still goes to the ceiling. It does, and you're like, do I gotta start again? I don't know what to do. Right? And the same principles apply. You can find ways to get the items that you need in the travel-friendly versions of whatever that is. Sometimes it's more expensive to get the smaller version of the thing that still works high quality. I'm trying to generalize.
Goodwill luggage. They always have luggage at Goodwill, and a lot of those have wheels on them. So that's that's very good to make your stuff affordable.
Yeah, Savers, sometimes the Facebook Marketplace,
Craigslist.
Yeah.
Craigslist,
Buy enough.
yard sales. It's garage sale season, y'all.
Get out there and buy some stuff.
Commerce.
So yeah, all the way in the back in the turquoise shirt, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of ask about keeping spaces clear, because I have a lot of spaces, and some of them are quite large, but it ends up that they all get filled with half-filled projects, and every time I end up working on the floor, and that's not good for my back.
No.
I guess I'm wondering if there's a way around that.
I got a cat.
Make sure the space was clear.
If it is not clear, he will make it clear.
Having cats does deter you.
He also took my office closet though for the litter box, so
I pretty much am the type that I put something down and then I leave it there forever and I forget about it. But basically, sometimes when you're trying to create and you're just like can't, it's mostly a matter of your environment. So I would just go through, maybe just clean up the trash. I ended up putting a trash can in my room because I was like, that makes so much sense. That takes a barrier away. Then I have so many reference books out, but I have a bookshelf right over there. And I have a library upstairs where I could bring the books up, or so I saw a TikTok. It was a good TikTok. It was like, okay, people are gonna come over. What are you gonna do? Sometimes things look cluttered, just put it in a stack.
Yeah.
And it looks okay. Like, holy crap. And then one thing that I've learned, it's good to have a whatever box. Now, this is another tip I got from ADHD TikTok of having a whatever box in any room. A junk box, or whatever, I call it a whatever box. where anything that doesn't belong in that room, you could just put in that box to bring to wherever it needs to go
the
later.
transport box.
Yes.
Yes,
Everybody has a
we all have
different
different
name
names
for it,
for this thing, yeah.
Yeah, I call it the whatever box because I didn't know it was a thing.
No, I made that up. It's not like I didn't get that from somewhere, that's just what they call it in my house.
Yeah, I call it the whatever box, and so that way, if I'm in the process of drawing, I don't feel like going to put something away. I'll toss in the whatever box off the thing.
Nice.
And sometimes you just have a project that necessitates you to clean off your desk.
I think it's really important too. If you struggle with that, everything has to have a place that is near where it gets used to be put away whenever possible. Because the putting it away has to be easy. Because otherwise it's like, I want to make a thing. My workspace looks like crap. I'm gonna go watch TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Less barriers makes a cleaner place.
Yeah. If it has to be as difficult for me to clean, I'm probably just not going to.
Very smart.
I also follow that rule where everything needs to have a home, and then you get in the middle of it, and it's all over everywhere. And then you need to very quickly clean up for whatever the reason is. Welcome to your laundry box and your IKEA bag. Shove it all in there. And then you do whatever it is that necessitated throwing everything in a doom pile of, oh my god, I have to go through that later. Yes, and then when you have the headspace and the calmness to address that, I've cleaned out the space on the floor of my craft room. I can dump a bag and say, you go there, you go there, you go there, you go there, you go there. And I have to have the time to do that. Like I have to do these bags or I cannot start that next project. CONvergence is over. I need to go through every doom bag in my room and be able to walk through it again before I start anything new.
Well, you've really got to figure out what works for your brain. If I have a doom bag, just light it on fire. I'm never opening it. It's gone. Everything in there is dead to me.
This
like,
is why
you have to find what works for your brain.
Yeah, this is why I have my whatever box be like an open box, so I know what's in there and it's there and it's like, do do. I love how we all have the same, different names for the same concept.
Same idea.
I
which
have
is
a
awesome.
stairway basket, and it's legit a stair basket with the and so if it needs to go upstairs, if I don't have time, I just put it in the basket, and the next time I walk up the stairs, you grab the basket, you take it to the top of the stairs, and then you put it away. And then the reverse option of that,
I need
stair
designated
basket.
spots for, okay, I'm gonna go downstairs, so this is gonna go to this spot. That will, I always pass by that to go downstairs and just make sure you don't go anywhere empty-handed.
I feel like the underlying message here is plan to be lazy.
Right? This is perfect. Did you want to add something on?
So lighting, real quick, one thing I have found works best for me is frosted lights. Lighting that's soft as opposed to harsh lights. Working on something.
Diffuses the light.
Yeah, diffused lights, I think I always found work best. Two, the other thing would be, especially if you've got like a lot of small parts, a lot of little things you work with, small parts bins. More than you're gonna need. Okay? Don't just get one and think that's good enough. Get 2 or 3. And a label maker. Because what I find is, if I don't have enough, then I'm like, okay, well, springs go in this one. Well, the spring drawer might get full. Now what do I do? Okay,
Pickle jars.
You need to have more storage than you have things for. And label maker, label maker, label maker.
Also for lighting, I forgot. Good crap. Forgot to have a sentence. Good little hack. I take a piece of paper, like just plain old white paper, put it on I have one of those lamps that have like 3 bulb thingies, and that's how I got a softbox for filming. And yeah, I could just set up the softbox that my husband owns, but I don't feel like doing all that. So I just tape some white paper to a lamp, and it still works because it's the same idea.
And we've got 3 more people that had hands up that I want to try to get to, and then we'll talk about ergonomics, and that'll probably be it. So there was a yellow card in the back.
Yep.
Yes.
So my thing was on, as someone who can't stand like digging through bins to find things, even if they're all the same thing, I've started to be a big fan of tool rolls and like zippable journal cases with pockets. because this holds all my art pencils and pens, and it unfolds. It's got pockets. You can, yeah, you can just take everything out, have everything you need visible and in easy reach, and then roll it back up and throw it in a drawer when you're done with it. So.
I have a tip for that I got from when I was really deep into Marie Kondo stuff, like a couple years ago, was I take the boxes that are filled with junk. I don't just throw it in there. I have them kind of set up like a bento box. Like, because I love bento boxes, and I make Japanese food, so I was like, wait, set it up like a bento? Where everything's kind of has this little section and it looks cute. And so I ended up doing that with my paints and my, you know, the word for everything that's kind of random is Komino, but my whatevers, my glues, my colored pencils, and it works out. So that way when I open the drawer, I'm not overwhelmed with having to go.
Our friend was standing at the wall there.
I was just going to bring up Twin Cities makerspaces as far as the open there, and there's not just the one, the Hack Factory in Minneapolis. There are several other ones throughout. There's also sometimes retired communities will have a, you know, for those doing woodworking, they will have woodworking shops that you can, you'll have to sit through their safety seminar so you know how to not cut off fingers. And they will, then you can have access to the larger workspace also. So there are additional workspaces out there. Various groups also will have, maybe not access, but you can find someone who's also looking to teach, and or like, yeah, we're going to be making wooden boxes, and there'll be a little subset of the group, and they'll, yeah, we'll be at so-and-so shop. So
Trade tools. Yeah. You had a comment.
I have a couple of comments. To piggyback on that one, the Mankato Makerspace is awesome. They've got, you can do hot work there. If you need to do something with a forge. They've got sewing stuff. They've got a ceramic studio. They've got a leather worker down there. The Mankato Makerspace is utterly brilliant. Absolutely, utterly brilliant. And as far as the ceramics go, I've been seeing a lot of comments online that people are looking for ceramic studio space because it's, you know, it's easy to have a wheel at home, but a kiln is like having a toddler. Really, a kiln is such a pain. So I work out of Dock 6 in St. Anthony, but if you take a class at any community college, if you need to do hot work, whether it's a kiln for ceramics or a kiln for, say, glass, if you want to do glass work, Embry Hills Community College has all of that. And if you just sign up to take some classes, you get access to, and this just makes my heart beat faster, a full set of stuff. All the tools are there. The torches, I just, whoa.
We're getting excited over it. So
Yes.
we got about 10 minutes left. So I know that you all, when we were talking on the email thread, we wanted to talk about ergonomics a bit. So I'm going to leave it to the three of you to start talking ergonomics here in a little bit.
You two go first.
All right, you two go first. Lee and Ashley, ergonomics.
We got the bendy brigade up here.
Yes.
These are hypermobility assistive devices. They look like jewelry, which is nice because all my other assistive devices look like shit. The big thing for me was I hate chairs. Can't do chairs. I'm in a fair amount of pain right now, actually, from this one here. My chronic pain got drastically better when I started working for myself instead of an employer and just don't have a chair. I have a couch. I have a couch instead of a chair because it allows me to sit in whatever weird way I need to sit to take pressure off whatever joint is being grumpy. I am not an ergonomics expert. This one here knows a lot more than I do. But if you're listening to your body might be suggesting things that you think is silly, like why would you have a writer's office or a therapist office with no desk in it? Because desks hurt. I'm not having it anymore. So if it hurts, try to figure out what would not hurt. And I rearranged my whole life around not having to sit in chairs on a daily basis.
How many people know Frida Kahlo? So Frida Kahlo, as an artist, worked from her bed. And she had an adaptive piece created where she could lay down on her bed because her back was broken. And she could paint from a prone position. So there is a solution.
Yes.
To everybody.
It's listening to what your body needs, whatever that is.
We have that. All right, we'll go to me.
I would just like to say, was me, right?
Yes.
I would just like to say against the bed thing, like, that does sound like a good idea, but then you're not going to use your bed for sleep.
Yeah, quite possibly. I'm not sure. I mean, she was bedridden, so she really didn't have
that's
the
different,
choice.
but, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have a suggestion that's ergonomic and also for lighting. So lighting, I have tons and tons and tons of lamps that are hanging everywhere all over, and I have a smart thing with Alexa and everything, but if you can't afford that, if you go to Home Depot, they have these for $25 in the lighting department. You can get these plugs where each plug will allow you to plug in 2 things, and it has a little remote control. So I have them hanging on hooks in every room. So when I come in, before I got Alexa, I just grab one of those and hit the buttons, and then all those lights. So you don't have to like reach for all those on those cords and turn them all on, and then you have access to all the lighting you could possibly need for anything, for whatever you need, and it's really easy to get it turned on and off.
There are also versions that'll work with your phone as a remote. We have that in several rooms of my house. That's partly because my wife works in that industry, so we get the goodies. But yeah, turning stuff on and off via the phone.
Smart. I just keep like duplicates of everything. So I have a seam ripper in 4 different spaces in my house. I have sets of scissors down at the cutting table and upstairs. And and I didn't have these all to start. And that's something that, speaking back to the whole being modular and growing into your space and being willing to change. It's like, I think a lot of people think that I have to look at these awesome spaces, and you get that space envy, and you're like, oh my God, I want my space to look like that. It's like, their space did not look like that when they first started, and that's okay. So start with what you've got, and then you can grow it from there. And go to those thrift stores and find suddenly that perfect thing. I needed a hat box. I went to the thrift store after a couple of visits, a hat box appeared. So, keep a list of things that you need. Think about the stuff that, my life would be easier if I could have the standing sitting desk. And then one will go on sale and you can then buy it.
Those are always on Craigslist.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
So the other piece to get some of that stuff is like if you have a buy nothing group in your area.
I'm sorry.
Like a buy nothing group. Like
yes, the buy nothing group. Yes.
I've gotten a few things I've needed through there.
Absolutely.
And passed on things I should no longer have.
So we've got about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure that.
Yeah, I want to hear about
ergonomics. If people have questions about ergonomics.
Yeah, do people have questions specific to ergonomics that actually could be answered?
Do people know what's happening?
Yeah, I say just talk.
All right, I'm gonna give you the 5-minute crazy spiel for the 360 slide PowerPoint. Here we go. When I look at a space in a workspace and I decide what I'm gonna upgrade first, I pick what I use the most. And for a lot of people, it's their table, because if they're gonna upgrade, they've been upgrading from, I'm working from a dining room to a new space. So like upgrading your space is actually first to have a room you can set aside for these things, because then you can fill it. So you get a space, and then you're gonna fill it, you're gonna upgrade, and you're gonna upgrade the piece that you're working at the most. It's usually the table space, usually, unless it's like a kiln. I don't do that. And you are looking for something that fits you and no one else, and you are going to go check these items out, and you're going to physically be there or take measurements and look around. Having a high-low table allows it to be adjustable regardless of what you're doing. With my sewing table, I decided to go for a drop-in model. It does not go up and down. My chair does go up and down. And I picked something that had a wheels. I picked something that can fold if I needed to change spaces. I picked something that would bring my wrists from here sewing to flat and down low. You need to find something that will allow you to not hunch. I would love for you to be able to move around a ton, because moving around a ton is more important than being in one perfect position and holding it all day. Don't do that. Move through your space. Make stations so that you're at your sewing machine, whatever it is you're doing. And then you have to get up and do the other stations. That's getting out of a chair, that is stretching, that's stretching your hips back out, that's stretching your back out, that is moving your ankles when you go from that one station to the other station. That's better than being stuck in a chair, in a position, and whatever for a long period of time. For some people, it's like, get a glass of water, because when you have to pee, then you have to get up. That's great. Right station, so maybe your ironing board is over there, so that you have to get up and move to get your steps in that day. So getting up and physically moving. For me, for my back, that means I have to have a work chair that spins in a circle. Because if I have to scooch my chair back on carpet, I'm going to twist my back instead, because that's easier. It's not easier, it hurts more over time. So a chair that will swivel in place, that will allow me to just go whee, and then I can get out of my chair, away from my desk, and move around my space. So now I have a drop-in table sewing machine with a whee chair that whees straight to another chair with my serger, so I can whee back and forth. It's great, I love it. And the other thing I want to really quick talk about is that when you're talking about the space that you're going to spend the most time in, that position, the thing that you're doing the most, your body, what position is it in? Are you here? Why? Can you bring it down? Can you bring it down? Can you bring you up to pick that thing down? Are you doing this all the time? Why are your sewing bobbins over there? Can they be in front of you instead? Because me reaching forward for a new sewing bobbin on my wall, on my IKEA board, is one arm movement, an extended elbow, and a wrist, maybe a little hip flexion. It is not torsion of my spine. It is not twisting. It is not a head. It is not this contorted thing to get over there, because I should be going whee in a circle on my chair, but if you didn't set it up right, you're going to be contorting to go over there over and over and over. So I have all the little drawers. I have more bobbins. I have my threads. I have my scissors right here. I use them the most in front of my sewing machine. I used to have them on the wall here, but then I was turning all the time, over and over and over and over and over and over, and tired. At the end of the day, you're tired. You didn't have to be that tired and that painful. You could just be tired.
I got a good point to piggyback off the movement thing. When you're a digital artist and you're working on a tablet, get a tablet arm that can move. Because that will change your experience. Like, especially if you are an artist that wants to stand up but don't have a high-low table, things like that, having a really good tablet arm to mount it on will help you, give you a bit more mobility, give you a lot more options. And get a good office chair. Don't get the happy gamer chair that you see on streamers, because those aren't always good, but there are some brands that are good. Research into a good chair. I like to get a good 12-hour chair that is meant for office work, because I'm at the desk a lot. But still, getting up to take a break, I do that every 20 minutes. Highly recommend.
Yeah, so I think ultimately, unfortunately, we don't have any more time. We are already running over. So yeah.
I just wanted to piggyback on Viga and let people know what they're looking like for tablet things. Base amount would be something that you want to look for your existing or something like that, so you can easily find something to adapt to what you already have.
Yeah, adapt to your body.
And your brain.
And your brain, yes.